We are live from New York. I'm Diego Sanchez, president of HousingWire, and my guest today is Andy Peach, Chief Lending Officer at Onity Group. Andy, it's so great to have you here today.
Well, thank you, Diego. Good to be here with you in New York at the conference and be here with, clients and colleagues and friends. So great couple of days here.
So you've had a pretty extensive career in mortgage at brand names like Mr. Cooper, JP Morgan Chase, Bank of America. How has that experience in your career informed your role and your perspective at Onity?
In a lot of ways. But I think what I would tell you is you start with, I've been doing this probably longer than I care to admit, but it's allowed me to see the industry and the business from a wide array of perspectives. So I've had the chance to work for, the early part of my career was all working with large bank-owned mortgage companies. And then I spent some time working for a Wall Street-driven firm. And then I spent some time working for a privately owned independent mortgage banker and now a publicly held independent mortgage banker. So a lot of different foundations upon which to operate a mortgage business that have different priorities. And then I've had the privilege of being able to operate in roles and serve in roles where I've done just about everything that you can do in production from a business model standpoint across all the channels and all the different means by which you can produce a mortgage loan, and even done a year in servicing in my career. So that kind of gives me a wide perspective around how the business works. And then you kind of mix in with that a little bit of personal perspective, which is two things I've kind of picked up on my career that I have landed on that I find really meaningful in my personal life and in my business life, is really kind of two things that I try to keep at the forefront of everything that I do. And it starts with the golden rule, which I guess the simplest way to say that is treat everybody the way that you would want your grandmother to be treated, right? And then the second part of it is to be better every day. And that's just to wake up every day and try to be a better version of yourself, make a better contribution to your company, put your company in a position to do better. And I find that if you focus on those two things, that good things tend to happen, right?
Yeah.
And so you kind of take that wide perspective and those two things and you kind of mix them together. And how now here we are at Onity, where we really kind of started a relaunch of our production team in 2019, our production platform. We were a meaningful servicer in the business, but we really had no originations capability, and we wanted to build out originations capability that would complement our servicing platform. So, I came to the company and joined in 2021 when we were kind of in the early stages of doing that. And I think we've done a really good job now that we've kind of built out a top 10 correspondent lender, a very influential co-issue buyer, a top 5 reverse lender. We have a successful consumer direct origination platform that's complementing our servicing platform. And I think we've done a good job of attracting people to our organization that kind of have that similar perspective of a wide array of experience, because really what it's about is you take those experiences and you kind of figure out what the best of breed solutions are that you can bring to the business and apply to the business in order to make it successful. And so, you look at that and say, coming here in 2021 and kind of living through that, it's been a really great experience to be part of working with a group of company to bring this company back to a state of prominence in the industry that is maybe equal to what it had in some of its legacy organizations that kind of were merged together to become the company that we are today.
So you have an amazing background and experience in the mortgage industry. How has that contributed to your perspective and your strategy as Chief Lending Officer at Onity?
Well, I think, it starts with you get a chance to see the world from a lot of lenses. It allows you to hopefully pick from your experiences around best of breed solutions in order to try to build your business, right? And so we've tried to do a good job in picking the right approach and the right strategy. We've also tried to do a good job of bringing the right talent in that has that same kind of broad perspective on the industry. And I think that's helped us a lot from a standpoint of the franchise that we've built. And then I think you take with that the fact, we have a thing at Onity that's part of our culture that we call the Onity Way, right? And the Onity Way is really built around 3 things, and it's customer first, better together, and we say we do. And so what we really try to do is take that perspective that we have, that both I and all of our teammates have gained throughout the course of our careers, and we try to bring that to life in this unmatched value proposition of services that we believe that we offer to the marketplace, and then wrap that up with the Onity Way. And that's really what we try to accomplish.
So Andy, why is now the right time for the company to be expanding in reverse mortgages?
Well, Diego, we see the demographics being favorable to the reverse marketplace right now and the opportunity in reverse, right? And so you look at it from our standpoint. One, as a company, we want to be able to offer options for people throughout their entire home ownership life cycle. We feel like reverse kind of fills that bill from a standpoint of covering the entire life cycle. And then we feel like the demographics line up very nicely. When you look at what's going on in that marketplace, you got, $14 trillion in senior home equity outstanding. You've got, 27 million seniors that are eligible for the product today. You got 1 million seniors becoming eligible for the product every year. And so that market's going to be growing just because of what the demographics are in the United States. And so then you kind of couple that with that it's an underserved market. There's a small number of companies that are really kind of focused on that market. But yet we see that opportunity growing, and so we like how we're positioned there because we want to be there to be able to serve the needs of that market. That people, there's a growing desire on the part of that population to age in place. So we believe the reverse mortgage is a good solution for that. Some cases that's a refinance type of transaction, so to speak, on a new reverse mortgage where you're basically restructuring your debt in order to be able to live in place. In other cases, people can use a reverse mortgage to purchase a property that they want to live in to age in place. So we think that those are great options as well. When you look at what's going on, there are more and more significant, meaningful originators in the marketplace that are adding reverse as part of their offering. And so we see that as a sign of growth as well. And obviously, we're both a third-party originator and a retail originator in reverse. So we're there to work with those companies that are in the market, entering the market on a third-party basis, as well as to offer that product directly to the consumer. And we see it as a big opportunity. We like how we're positioned.
Yeah, let's talk more about that. From your perch as the Chief Lending Officer, what do you view as the company's role in the overall mortgage ecosystem?
Well, let's start with, as a company, first of all, our CEO, Glenn Messina, talks all the time about that our focus is on creating positive outcomes, right? So positive outcomes for consumers, positive outcomes for clients, positive outcomes for investors, right? So everything kind of starts from that premise and flows. And then, you think about what we want our role to be. Really, I think we want our role to be a very influential force and a provider of solutions and a provider of power, almost in the way that an electric company provides power to businesses and homes, to U.S. housing and U.S. housing finance, right? And so we really do that with our platform and the business that we've built between our originations platform and our servicing platform, because we're able to provide solutions to our clients and we're able to be there in order to provide solutions to consumers through the loan administration that we work that supports their home ownership, right? You think about the originations platform, we really feel like that what we have built now is we've built this, what we'll call unmatched breadth of solutions that we offer in the mortgage or in the B2B space across correspondent lending, co-issue, reverse, bulk MSR purchase, subservicing. And that's really, we feel like there's nobody else that can offer that to everybody in the industry from a standpoint of what we do and what we have to offer. And so we feel like that makes us very relevant to our clients and our partners in a way that others can't be, because we can meet them where they need to be met with a solution in any cycle of the industry, right? And so you pair that together with our servicing platform that's been awarded accolades by Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac on multiple years for the high quality servicing work that we do. We feel like we have a pretty strong value proposition to the industry, and we're well positioned in order to be that, provider of power and success and solutions to our clients and to consumers in the industry.
Are there other product areas such as non-QM that you think makes sense in this environment, which is higher for longer mortgage rates, I think longer than anyone would like?
Now, other than non-QM?
No, like non-QM.
Like non-QM,
yeah.
Yes. I mean, look, from our standpoint, it does feel like in a higher for longer mortgage environment that we're going to kind of move. I mean, we've really not been in a product-driven market in the mortgage business in, 20 years practically. I mean, you could literally go back to the early 2000s, and we haven't. Well, I guess you probably say in the late 2000s when we were in the exotic product cycle,
Yep.
We were in a product-driven market, but we really haven't been there since then, right? And I think we are, with higher rates, going to get in a market that's going to be more product-driven. especially if we start to see the yield curve start to take on, a normal shape. I think you're probably going to see a world where maybe ARM loans come back. But from our perspective, we're looking at non-QM as an entry point to expand into. We think it's something where we can continue to expand on that unmatched breadth of solutions that we offer that I spoke of earlier. It increases the size of our addressable market. So we are making plans to expand in that and step into that market to provide another solution to our customers. So we think that's an opportunity for us from that standpoint, and we're excited to go in that direction. But, in the end, for us, from a customer strategy perspective, as I said, we really want to be there to support customers through all stages of the homeownership lifecycle, right? So whether that's through our B2B channels and what we do to support our clients there, or whether that's what we do with consumers through whether it's a purchase, a refi, a GSE loan, a government loan, a non-QM loan, a reverse loan, we want to be able to be there to support their needs.
When you talk servicing and when you talk multi-channel lending, I think of technology, right?
Yeah.
And how important technologies like artificial intelligence are to being a thriving multi-channel lender and servicer. What role does your technology platform, including artificial intelligence, play at Onity?
Well, it's playing a bigger and bigger role, right? I mean, some people have had a lot of emphasis on it. We're certainly increasing our emphasis on it when it comes to AI. And in our world, we're looking at AI in a variety of ways. We're looking at AI from the standpoint of how it can really be a power tool for our people. I heard someone say once in a session that I attended that really kind of hit the mark to me that AI is not necessarily what's going to take your job, but somebody who knows how to use it will, right? And so we're really looking at, okay, how do we pair AI solutions with our people as a power tool to make them a lot more productive, have more capacity. If we can take, let's call it the non-highest and best use tasks off their plate by providing them with AI solutions, allowing them to focus on the highest and best use tasks that for their talents, those are all things that we're doing, and we have applications that we're applying today in our business to do that. Another area where we have a lot of focus is around using analytics and big data. We have 1.3 million customers in our customer base. We certainly would like to do everything that we can to extend the relationship that we have with those customers. And the only way we're going to do that is if we're timely, relevant, and personal in the way that we engage them. And when you think about all the data that we have on 1.3 million customers, if we're not making the most of that data and deepening our knowledge in a responsible way around that customer, then we're missing a huge opportunity, right? And so we're making big investments in those managing that data and in analytics in order to understand that data and have that deeper understanding of our customers. And then another area is we rolled out recently, and it was in the press, that we rolled out an application called Lassie for our subservicing customers. And Lassie is an AI application that allows our subservicing customers to search documents and data around their subservicing, their portfolio that we service for them, allows them to ask unstructured questions and get detailed answers back and detailed information back to make their life easier in terms of how they're managing the book of business that we service for them from a standpoint of their servicing analysis and oversight work.
So let's take out a crystal ball for this last question. As you think about all these different business lines that you have under the Onity umbrella, where are you leaning in and really prioritizing over the next year and a half?
I think there's a variety of places where we're leaning in, because from our standpoint, it's almost like where are we not leaning in from a production perspective, because at the end of the day, if we're going to complement our servicing portfolio, that's about helping us create scale and grow the size of our business, right? So we're certainly leaning in across the board almost in everything that we do. But I would say, a couple areas where we're leaning in particularly are, we're leaning in from a standpoint of servicing portfolio recapture, because if you're a servicer, that's just a really important part of how you operate in the business. And we're seeing that MSR buyers and investors are starting to assume value for recapture in their bids. So it's just table stakes that you have to be really good at recapture. And so we've been making that investment in order to try to raise our game when it comes to servicing portfolio recapture. And then I would say on the side of with our correspondent clients, we're making some investments in order to try to make it easier for how we ingest information and documents to make those transactions faster and smoother for our clients. And so we're working on those things and we're making on those investments right now. And I think, in the coming, weeks, months, and years, our clients are going to see those things pay off for them.
Well, Andy, this has been a great conversation. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Well, thank you, Diego. I appreciate the time. Great to be with you.